some names still on the board and on the field, first-round talent. Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall. Nicky Manwari, I couldn't quit talking enough about how good he was out of South Carolina. Tested through the roof. I thought he played really well. Trey Amos, the cornerback out of Ole Miss, is still there. Shedeur Sanders, Nick Scorton, Suvon Revel. And this is my big board, the best players available. Luther Burden, the third. Will Johnson still available. I love Darius Alexander at Toledo. Had a great season, a really good Senior Bowl. He is 25 years old. And then Arante Ursary is a developmental athletic left tackle out of Minnesota. Donovan Ezraku, we talked about him as a potential first-round pick at the bottom there with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Alfred Collins, I loved him coming out of Texas as a defensive tackle as well. So what are the conversations that you're having, whether you pick at pick 33 or whether you pick in the 50s, in terms of how you're going to sort this out?
So now at this point of the draft, you end your night, everyone's high-fiving, everyone's just turned their franchise around with their first-round pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so now you're looking at the board, you're seeing what the best available are, you're looking at your team needs, and now you're studying the board because you have a team needs board up and you're checking off as teams take guys in their need category. What's their top need? What's their top need and who's available at those picks?
Right.
And so you're playing that, until you get to your pick. Who's picking above you, and you probably go 3 or 4 picks below you just to figure out who may potentially come up for one of those spots. So now it gives you an idea of who may be available. And then depending on where your analytics department is, and shout out to all the analytics departments, around the league, the Demetrius Washingtons and Sarah Bailey's, there's a cool draft predictor model of who may be available to you at your pick, at every pick. And it's generated off of mock drafts, your scouts grades, and how, not only your scouts, but your coaches view the players. And you kind of use that tool as well to say, hey, there's a 50% chance that Suvon Revel will be here when we pick. Now that's an opportunity for you to consider moving up to take him.
So I'm looking at my big board here, my horizontal big board, because, I'm a professional at this. And some other names that we haven't mentioned, or that I didn't mention on my big board, but that are having a possibility to be drafted very soon. Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU, Jason Taylor's son. He's freakishly athletic, and he's only going to get a lot better. Deion Walker is a name that 12 months ago was considered a top 10 pick, or last summer, I should say. Struggled with a back injury, so the medicals will be certainly important there. Andrew Makuba is a safety out of Texas by way of Clemson.
Love the way he plays.
Absolutely. He's a little undersized, so maybe the long-term health implications there. Azariah Thomas, the Florida State cornerback. So these are just some names that I didn't mention the first run through. JT Tuimoloau, Landon Jackson along the edge. My guy Tate Ratledge.
Captain Jack Sawyer.
Captain Jack Sawyer. My guy Tate Ratledge out of Georgia, interior offensive line, and my other guy, I got a lot of guys. Charles Grant out of the College of William Mary.
Everybody, give them all to Ryan. They're
right.
all his guys.
And the young man we saw at the Miami Pro Day catching passes from Cam Ward, Elijah Arroyo is another tight end. So let's see here in terms of the order of what we're looking at and best player available, and try to do some matches here. So Cleveland's at 33, and they pick, and they pick again at 36. So I have to give you the names because I didn't give you my big board. You don't have access to it. You didn't have the password.
Yeah, you don't like me enough.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Mason Graham at 5. We know about the first-round pick in next year's draft class. But at Cleveland, if I'm 33, I'm thinking about a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And a possible option would be, let me find my wide receivers here. So Luther Burden's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is right around the range he could start to come off the board. I think he would help out Jerry Jeudy a lot. Said Tillman, of course. And then if they want to get a running back, because Nick Chubb hasn't been re-signed and you don't think he's going to be, at 36, Trey Henderson could be there out of Ohio State. How do you like those two picks for the Cleveland Browns to start off their day 2?
I mean, you have to be excited if you're them, because you look at 34, will the Texans go running back there? Maybe not. Would the Texans go receiver there? So you're not worried about that. The Titans probably won't go running back there, having Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears.
Oh, sorry,
having those guys there. And so their receiver core is kind of depleted right now. You have Calvin Ridley. You lost Nick Westbrook-Akine in free agency, and Traylon Burks is coming off of a torn ACL. And so they could be in the market for them at receiver. So now, I mean, the Browns are situated nicely because you're picking 2 times in the top 4. And now it's about hedging your bet on who's going to be available based off of who below you needs those positions, right? And so, yeah, you can still, if you're Cleveland and you're saying receiver and running back, now the people that you're looking at is the Titans and the Raiders,
Right.
because the Raiders still need a receiver.
Yep.
The Raiders still need a receiver because they took a running back, so you're not really worried about that. And the Titans aren't taking a running back, so it's probably more inclined for them to take a receiver at 33, and if they're looking at running back, take the running back at 36.
Exactly. Striker points out, and he showed the graphic if you're watching on YouTube, Shedeur Sanders is minus 170 on FanDuel to go 33rd overall. But given the conversation you just had about the wide receiver possibilities for Cleveland there to avoid anything the Raiders might do, would it have to be a pretty sweet deal for you as Andrew Berry to trade out of that 33rd pick if a team wants to come up and get Shedeur, for example?
Yeah, I mean, because, and again, it's going to present itself. And if there's a team, if you're the Saints, maybe the Raiders. I don't think we've talked enough about the Raiders, and I know Shedeur had a visit with the Raiders, a 30 visit with the Raiders, and maybe the Raiders are the team. Do the Raiders come up now? They're ahead of the Saints, but would they want to make sure that they're locked in to get the pick and jump up to 33? Because from 37 to 33, you may pick up a 4th. So now you're Andrew Berry, you're just stockpiling picks here, and you're still within range to get one of the guys. Now you may lose out on a Luther Burden type talent at receiver, but to pick up another pick, I'm probably worth it.
I'm smirking because what if you are John Spytek, right, in Las Vegas, and you get a call from Omar Khan at 37 and say, hey, man, you want George Pickens? Is 37 too rich?
Considering everything that comes with George Pickens.
Sorry to interrupt you. Let me ask you this. How good is Pete Carroll dealing with personalities, I'll call them, in the locker room?
I mean, just go back to USC and some of the guys that he's had and the type of guys that Pete Carroll recruited. Like that wouldn't be an issue for Pete Carroll, but it's one of those things where you as an organization, you have to make sure that you have the infrastructure in place that's going to support him. And the thing that nobody's talking about is you're going to have George Pickens for one more year, and he's going to be looking to get paid.
Right.
So are you going to be able to make that type of commitment? To me, saying if you're the Raiders and you trade 37 to Pittsburgh, you're pretty much saying that you believe enough in George Pickens that not only are we giving up this pick, but we're willing to pay you.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. And again, we'll see how the Steelers sort of navigate what they're going to do and whether they go in a completely different direction quarterback-wise. So that'll play itself out here. Let's do a little quick thing here. So let's take Luther Burden to the Browns at 33 there. The Texans are now on the clock because they got that pick from the Giants. They didn't get an offensive lineman at 25 because it felt like their guys were gone. They could go any number of directions here. I'm trying to think what they might do in terms of best player available, what might be an option for them. They don't necessarily need a cornerback. Would you take is this too rich for a Tate Ratledge? It might be in terms of if you're going into your offensive line there. Let me see who are some of quickly, I'll just check as we go through this live, so bear with me here. Some of the tackles still available if they want to go down that road. So Ursery's there. That might be a little too rich for them there. Charles Grant, Tate Ratledge, Wyatt Milam, Emory Jones Jr. So maybe they don't want to go in that direction. I mean, they could get an edge rusher, but they
may look to go interior D-line.
I was going to say, so we have Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee, Deion Walker, I mentioned, Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins are possibilities, TJ Sanders.
Alfred Collins would be a great pick for D'Amico Ryan's defense because he is a big, massive dude that's got long arms.
Right.
And with D'Amico's wide 9 system, it's about setting physical edges. And this is a guy that I believe can play all the way across. He can play the 5 technique, the 3, the 4-eye, the 2-eye, the 1, the 0. And because he has that size and that length. So that would be a really good pick. And it would give them another big and strong, stout body in their interior.
And another thing I should mention, I didn't love Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa State, as much as a lot of other people, if I'm being frank. So the Browns can certainly go Jaden Higgins at 33 if they want, and then maybe Luther Burden goes to the Raiders, or vice versa. There could be a situation where Jaden Higgins ends up going 37, and that may not be too rich. There seemed to be some conversations at one point that maybe he was going to sneak into the first round. He's still available, so that's just something else to keep in mind. All right. I think we're about to get out of here. So I think this is a good question from Stryker. We'll wrap it up on this. And by the way, I appreciate everyone watching and listening to this. We'll be back tomorrow after day 2 for second and third round conversations as well. But Stryker wants to know, on day 2, how many quarterbacks do we see? Let me give you, as you think about it, here are the quarterbacks available. Shedeur Sanders, obviously. And
I've
then
been so wrong about this. Well, I said there would be. No, I said 3. Never mind. I've been so wrong.
All right, well, you can redeem yourself. We have Shedeur still out there, Kyle McCord, Will Howard, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Tyler Shuck, Riley Leonard. I heard there's an opportunity for him to go on day 2. I also rolled my eyes. He's a great guy, but I'm just trying to be honest about this. Dylan Gabriel, I don't think he goes on day 2, but I think he gets drafted. So how many are you going with?
So we have Shedeur, we have Tyler Shuck, we have Milroe, and who are the other?
We have Kyle McCord, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Riley, Dylan.
I'll say 4.
Okay, I think that feels about right.
And my 4th guy is probably not who you think I'm thinking, because I know who you think.
Well, I think Kyle McCord is going to be the first one drafted. He should be 33rd overall. And if Kyle McCord goes to the Steelers, everything will be okay.
I will personally buy you a jersey.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll find out together. So let me just go on the record just so I can. So I'm going to say Shedeur.
Agree.
Jalen Milroe.
Agree.
Not in this order, but these are all guys who go. I think Will Howard has a chance to go.
Agree.
I know teams don't like Kyle as much as I do, but I'm going to say Kyle McCord.
Disagree.
You could be right. And then Tyler Shuck.
Agree.
All right, so we'll see. We'll see, Stryker. All right, that's it. That's it for us here.
Now I can get out of this tie.
Get out of your Sunday suit. And you have your Monday suit on tomorrow because we'll be right back here. For Ran Carthon and Ryan Wilson, thanks to all you guys who watch and listen. Thanks to Stryker for producing. We'll see you guys in a few hours, if I'm being honest. Thanks for watching.